read part of our story, Owen. Remember, it was about a mouse. And so today, before we read the second part of our story, I thought we would review our story map so we can kind of remember what's happening. So the first thing we talked about was our setting, which is just where they are, right? And we said, we know he's in his house. He goes upstairs and downstairs with his blanket, in his bedroom, on the couch. He's outside. The main character of this story, we said, was Owen. Remember, the characters are just the people or the animals or sometimes even things that the story's mainly about. Owen is the main character, right? But there's also his mom, the neighbor, Miss Tweezers, his dad. They're also characters in the story, but the main character was Owen. Let's think about his problem. What was the main problem in that story? It was that his mom and his dad really thought he was too old to keep carrying that blanket around, right? And then Miss Tweezers, man, she had all kinds of suggestions on how to get rid of it, right? And we stopped with Mrs. Tweezers telling them about the vinegar trick, even though we don't know what it is yet. So let's get into our book and see if we can find out what that vinegar trick was really all about. "Can't be a baby forever," said Mrs. Tweezers. "Haven't you heard of the vinegar trick?" Owen's parents hadn't. Mrs. Tweezers filled them in. When Owen wasn't looking, his father dipped Owen's favorite corner of fuzzy into a jar of vinegar. Owen sniffed it and smelled it and sniffed it. He picked a new favorite corner. Then he rubbed the smelly corner all around in his sandbox, buried it in the garden, and dug it up again. "Good as new," said Owen. So, did the vinegar trick work? It didn't, did it? Really, he just picked a different corner and then rubbed the vinegar all out of it using dirt and yucky stuff, really. That one didn't work either. Fuzzy wasn't very fuzzy anymore, but Owen didn't mind. He carried it and wore it and dragged it. He sucked it and hugged it and twisted it. Why do you think that Fuzzy wasn't very fuzzy anymore? Well, look at all the things that Owen is doing with it. He's dragging it on the ground. He's rubbing it all over him, wearing it like a blanket. Probably has rubbed all that soft, fuzzy stuff off of the blanket. What do you think? "What are we going to do?" asked Owen's mother. "School is starting soon," said Owen's father. "Can't bring a blanket to school," said Mrs. Tweezers. "Haven't you heard of saying no?" Owen's parents hadn't. Mrs. Tweezers filled them in. Is saying no really a trick? Well, not really. It's just saying no, right? Feels like maybe Miss Tweezers is trying to tell Owen's parents how to be parents. "I have to bring Fuzzy to school," said Owen. "No," said Owen's mother. "No," said Owen's father. Owen buried his face into Fuzzy. He started to cry and would not stop. This is a good place for me to make a prediction. When I predict, I think about what I already know and see if I can guess what's going to happen next. I know that his parents have never told him no before, and I know that Owen always gets his way. So I'm going to predict that his parents are probably going to give in and let him take the blanket to school. "Don't worry," said Owen's mother. "It'll be all right," said Owen's father. And then suddenly Owen's mother said, "I have an idea." It was an absolutely wonderful, positively perfect, especially terrific idea. First she snipped, and then she sewed, and then she snipped again and sewed some more. What do you think she could be sewing? Say it out loud. What do you think it could be? I have no idea. I can't wait to find out. Snip, snip, snip. So. Dry your eyes. Wipe your nose. Hooray! Hooray! Now Owen carries one of his not-so-fuzzy handkerchiefs with him everywhere he goes. What did his mother do with Fuzzy? She turned it into a bunch of handkerchiefs, right? That's so smart. And Miss Tweezers doesn't say a thing. Did any of Miss Tweezers' suggestions work? She had 3 ideas. Let's see if we can remember. Right? She said, do the blanket fairy. Did that one work? No. Vinegar? No. Saying no? Definitely didn't work, right? What about my prediction? I predicted that Owen's parents would let him take the blanket to school. Was I right? Well, kind of, right? He did take it to school, just in a handkerchief. Man, his mother was a very clever little mouse, wasn't she? Remember I was talking about all the great illustrations in this story, like the one with the washing machine yesterday? Let's look at the illustrations again today. Today, let's look at the one with the sandbox. The author told us that Owen called Fuzzy good as new after he rubbed it all around in his sandbox. I'm wondering what he meant by that. Like, how can Fuzzy be good as new if Owen buried it in the garden and then he dug it up again? Does Owen like his blanket to be clean or dirty? Well, think about all the other illustrations, especially that one with the washing machine. His blanket is always dirty. Well, how come Owen's blanket doesn't smell like vinegar anymore? He probably rubbed it all in the sand until it got dirty enough that it smelled more like dirt. See, sometimes the illustrations will give us more information to help us understand the words in the story. And we can see that the corner of Owen's blanket in this illustration is really dirty. So it probably doesn't smell like vinegar anymore. It smells dirty. All right, let's come back to our story map and finish it up. Remember that we said the main problem is that Owen's parents think he's too old to carry his blanket around. What was the second thing they did to try to get Owen to give up his blanket? That vinegar trick, remember? He dipped the corner of Owen's blanket into vinegar so it would be smelly. But what did Owen do to try to keep his blanket? He rubbed it in the sand. So we'll do some sand over here, right? Here's all my yellow sand. And we'll draw like a blue sandbox around it. Okay, so that was one way he fixed that problem, right? And then what was the last thing that Owen's parents tried to do? They told him no, but what did Owen do? He just cried and cried and cried. So we can make Owen, his little head right here. Okay, remember it's kind of an oval shape. Kind of turn it because it's kind of sideways. We can draw his eyes and his mouth. Sad in this one. Here's his nose, his big ears, and then we can use blue to draw tears. Okay, now what was the main problem, right? They didn't want him to carry his big blanket around everywhere because he'd look like a baby. But what did his parents do to solve the problem of Owen crying and him not needing to carry the blanket around anymore? The mom cuts it into little handkerchiefs and sews it up, right? So we can make a bunch of little handkerchiefs. That's really the main solution, is that they take the big blanket and make it into little handkerchiefs for him to carry all around. At the end, his mother turned his blanket into handkerchiefs that he can carry wherever he goes, and that fixed the problem of him carrying a blanket around kind of like a baby.